Hello brothers and sisters, welcome to another episode here on Dangerous African Confessions HD. In this episode, we have a message from one of our brothers. And in this message is a letter that he reveals to us about how he became one of the powerful prophets in Ghana. He reveals some deep stuffs about some of the prophets that are now parading as people chosen by God, which really came as a shock to us. But then, for this period of time that we have been doing this, there is nothing that surprises us anymore. He tells us the beginning of his life and what led him to join this group of pastors and at the end being initiated into the cult. He reveals to us the dirty things some of the pastors in the ministry have been doing, and people go about celebrating them as being genuine men of God. He said that, he revealing this dark side of the church to us, is not to bring the Christian faith into ridicule, but rather, to let people know what is there, so that they will know Christ for themselves, and not to depend on any pastor. Without taking much of your time, let us go and listen to her story. Don't forget to please subscribe, share and like our videos. Kindly hit the notification bell so you will be the first to get notification to our videos when we upload.
Hello brother, I greet you and your listeners. And I believe everyone is doing well. I really do want to share with you my life story, and will plead with you to share this story of mine as anonymous. It is all about how I ended up in a cult where I was initiated to become one of the powerful prophets in the country. I am a young man who is 34 years of age. And right now I command or do have a church with members in excess of thousands. And I do have 3 services every Sunday. My whole story started when I lost my parents in a tragic car accident in one of the Christmas festivities. They visited my grandmother, and on their way back home, the unfortunate incident did happen. I and my younger brother were made to stay back home whilst they went on that journey. And I always wondered why they left us back home that very day. Because, anytime they traveled, we were always with them. But then, suddenly that very day, we were not allowed to join them. I felt there was a reason why that thing happened. So, growing up, I wanted to know why that thing happened that fateful day when my parents died. My parents were not rich people, but they made sure that everything that we needed as a family and their children were provided for us. Even to the extent of taking care of the needy in our community with the little that they had. My father especially will always tell you that the little that you receive from the Lord is not just for you and only your family, but rather, it is for the betterment of the people you find yourself with. That had always been their priority and their principles whilst they lived on this earth. And because of these ideas that were instilled in us, I was determined to make money at any cost so I can help the people around me. As time passed, I went to this church and decided to be a member. This particular church, they had a very different message. The pastor preached this kind of prosperity message which was very different from my parents taught us. But then, I was determined to remain in the Lord, and so, I continued to be part of them to a point when one day, the pastor called me and told me that I resemble someone that he knows. Upon further conversation, I realized that he knew my father. And the time that he used to be coming to the church that my parents attended, I was a small boy. So, he took some likeness of me and told me that he wanted to take me as a son. I was so much happy to hear that. Because growing up, I knew how it was so important to be so much closer to a pastor. And for such a pastor who had so much members to call me and tell me that he wanted to take me as a son was such a huge honor. So, I started serving him alongside the person who was doing it before I joined. He introduced me to his wife, and the wife also knew my parents. So, it was more like I was with a family. The wife treated me with so much respect and love that I never expected from her. This very treatment from this pastor and his wife made me also develop and dedicated my whole time for his family and the ministry. He one day called me and spoke to me about his seeing a prophetic mantle upon my life. He told me that he will guide me and teach me things that are hidden which will propel me to become great in ministry. From that time he told me about me having that calling. He didn't allow anyone into his personal office again apart from me. I could go in and have any discussions with him as I wanted. It even got to a time that, even if some of the church workers wanted to talk to him, they did pass the information on to me so that I could tell him for them. At this point, I didn't think a time would come in my life that I would get myself involved in any evil deeds, or get myself involved in things that were against the Lord. At this time, I had been with him for 2 years and knew back in my mind that I was being trained to become a man of faith and truth in the Lord. That I knew. But then, I didn't know that he was actually gradually getting me to trust him to a point where whatever he says I would do. And truth be told, I had become so much close to him that I trusted him with everything that I had. The only time he will not let me walk into his office or know about is when he has these particular visitors. They were also pastors and prophets who also are well known in this country. Although he had introduced me to them that I was a child he is training to also join them to do the work. When he said this, I felt he was actually talking about me joining them to propagate the message of our Savior Jesus. Unknown to me, he was indirectly talking about me joining their cult. You see, brother, this pastor has a TV station to his name, where he preaches every time. And people do respect and believe in what he says. Even his wife, who I believe has no idea of what her husband is into, worships him and also does her best as a wife to push the gospel. In fact, when I see her now, I feel for her very much. It is more like, the person you have so much hope and trust in as a husband, does things that you have no idea of. What is it that I am talking about? The thing is that, one very evening, we had finished having this program and it was around 9 p.m. He told the wife that he would be coming to the house late. Or better still, will spend the night in the church and pray. So, for this reason, the wife should lock the doors, and if he will be coming to the house, he will call her to let her know. But then, he told me to wait for him. That night, when I was in his office dozing off in his couch, I felt someone touching me. At first, I thought I was having a dream. But then, I woke up only to see that it was actually the pastor who was sitting next to me and was touching me. At this time, he was in only his singlet and boxer shorts. I was shocked to see him in that situation. I told him I cannot do that. He smiled and told me to calm down, and that he was only waking me up to eat my food. Apparently, he had gone to buy food and bought some for me. That was unusual, because even if he will buy food from outside, he always sends me to do that. But then, why this very day, he would choose to do it himself? He went to the inner office and asked me to get on with my food before I go back to sleep. And in my mind, I told myself that I will not sleep again that night even when I finish with the food. After eating the food, I decided to watch some TV programs. There was this TV in his office. So as I was watching the TV, I didn't know what happened and I felt the urge to have someone to myself. So, I got up and went to his inner office and we started doing the abominable thing. But that time, I felt good and felt there was nothing wrong with it. So, after doing it with him, he told me that I should go and have my sleep. I went to the other office and slept. Early in the morning, he came to me and woke me up. He asked me what happened that night. And just like that, I got up and went closer to him. I honestly don't know what came on me, and I started kissing him. This was when he told me to sit down. When I sat down, he joined me and started to talk to me. He said that, in this ministry, everybody has his or her secrets. And he was opening up himself to me because he has seen something good in me. And as such, he wants me to also be as big as he is. And I asked what was there to do to be like him. He started laughing, and told me that he has started the process for me. That was when he said that all the pastors that do come to him are a part of a particular cult. And he is willing to put me on so that I can do miracles and wonders. Provided if I will be faithful to him. I asked what he meant by me being faithful to him, and he said that he wanted me to be his one and only. Because he didn't want to share me with anyone. Because the moment he introduced me to them, some of them will start making advances on me. He said that they will offer me so many opportunities which might attract me. Honestly, at this point, like I said, I wasn't even thinking straight. I told him there was nothing for him to be worried. As soon as I said that, he started kissing me and did to me just like a man would do to his girlfriend or wife. So, To him, I was his wife. After everything, he told me that he will help me with my initiation into becoming one of the well-known prophets in the country. Days later, he introduced me to his group and some rituals were done for me. And after the rituals, I was given a ring and also a particular suit that I will wear when I am doing a program and want miracles to take place. I was to combine wearing of the suit and the ring to call on the powers to do whatever I will command them to do. But then, there was this instruction that was given to me. After everything, I was told that I was not to give birth. What I mean by that is that I should have a child of my own. Because whatever spirit that I had swore the allegiance to had married me. And she will only want to have children with me in the spirit realm. So, having a child in the physical realm is like an insult to my spiritual wife, who also doubles as the source of my powers. At this point, I didn't think about the consequences of what they were telling me. All I ever thought of was me doing what I wanted to do and make a name for myself. So, what this pastor did for me was that, after my initiation, he told his wife about what God has shown him about me, and the need for them to allow me to also mount their pulpit. His wife was very happy to hear such a thing about me. She was a very innocent woman. A very down-to-earth person. So, the next service, he made the announcement to the general audience that, if he does not preach or mount the pulpit, I will be the one to do so, due to the instructions he has received from the Lord. Everyone was happy, and honestly, I didn't feel any tense in the congregation. So the very first day that he gave me the chance to minister to the church, I never knew and believed I could do such things. It was like something had taken over my body and was just giving out prophecies like that to the people. I was giving them concrete and straight to the point prophecies. Just like the pastor himself has been doing.
Like I always say, these are not just stories for story's sake. They are meant for us not to make these mistakes our brothers and sisters are making. That's why we share these stories with you. After listening to this story, I will say that life indeed is something that no one can predict. And you can't even seem to understand what life is all about. I honestly wish the youth of these days will listen to some of the important lessons in these stories that we share. Money is important in human life, yes, it is true that we cannot do without it. But please, we should understand that money is not everything. I honestly think that this generation are really becoming a generation that if we do not sit up and really get to understand the living spirit of Christ, we will be heading for a doom. You see, the devil has many of his people pretending to be the very select of God, all in an attempt to deceive many unto himself. Let us be wise and vigilant in our walk in the faith. I just hope that we honestly take the important lessons from these stories to better our lives and decisions. When you listen to his story carefully, you realize that he had a very solid foundation from his parents, which should have been his guidebook in his walk with the Lord. The virtues that we are taught in the house by our parents in the Lord is so much important that we shouldn't disregard them entirely and walk a different path. I pray that we learn from some of these stories and live a better life. If not for anything at all, it pays to live a decent and better life. Stay blessed and be safe. Thanks for being a part of this growing family. Kindly share your thought with us in the comment section below. And if you are new here, please subscribe, like and share.